When you're on holiday overseas, especially, you get off the plane and your senses are heightened. You're so excited like a child, and you notice the different coloured sky and sounds and smells. We were staying with friends in central Portugal, which is very beautiful. It's very hot like it is here. And we went from a day where we were swimming in rivers and visiting monuments, wandering through gardens and drinking under vines, to the very next day we were fleeing for our lives. And we narrowly escaped. And we took refuge with some friends of our friends in a shed for a couple of days. And while we were staying with our friends in this shed, we were simply waiting to hear of the news. It was quite a contrast from that holiday experience to that dramatic event. There's a lot of contrast in my work, in light and dark. I take a lot of photographs, I always have. I've got eyes bigger than my brain, and the photographs that I take are part of my art. I use them when I'm deciding what work to do. And when I came back from Portugal, I had an exhibition planned the next year. So the first things I wrote down about what I was considering using as themes for the exhibition were about abundance and spillage, strong emotional colour and light and delight, but showing them through darkness. A few months after we returned from our trip, my mother died suddenly, and that affected me so strongly physically and emotionally that it was hard to get started with the work. But I had a deadline, and that was probably really good for me. I got into the studio, and obviously all sorts of other themes to do with my mother came into the work as well. I always remember being really small and having this sort of nightmare where it's so bad it affects you very strongly, but you can't explain what it is. You can't describe a particular story to it, and maybe you don't have the words, but it's so frightening, and you're very scared, and suddenly the light comes on in the hallway as you wake up, and your mother is there in the light to save you. So there is an image in the works called The Guardian, and it's this beautiful golden chandelier. It's called The Guiding Light, and it's shining in the darkness. I suppose I always think of it as, if I work on a landscape, it's an emotional landscape. If I work on an interior, it's an emotional interior. There's a large blue work in the show called We Were Dead and You Didn't Notice, which is a line from Orpheus, and I was drawn to those words because sometimes when a whole bunch of dramatic things happen, you start wondering if you're alive or dead, or if you're awake or this is a dream. I work in charcoal on paper mostly. I studied printmaking. With printmaking, you tend to focus a lot on composition and light and dark and line. I really took to mezzotint, where you would work from black scratching back to light. Years later, I didn't have the equipment and I did not have the patience for printmaking. Charcoal makes sense in this landscape. There's plenty of burnt material that it represents. And it makes sense in this show. It creates a very moody scene. I created the works here in my studio in central Victoria, and the local landscape is very important to my work. I dream about the landscape. I dream about giant dead trees and deserts surrounding my home, and green areas off towards Hepburn, which I can't quite see, but I know is there. The scale changes in my dreams, but it's really entered my visual mind, and I can see it all from my studio. So it is very important to my work, and it's in a lot of my work. This particular show doesn't have local landscape images in it, but I will often mix landscapes from different places in one show. I don't care about following a rule about just depicting one area or what's around you, because I just don't think that's the world we live in now. We have access to everything, and it's what the images say to me and what I want to say with them that matters to me.